Leaked minutes from the Department of Homeland Security and CISA are now available. We're going to take a look at these because the U.S. government is looking like they are organizing themselves to suppress free speech in America. We've covered this a lot. These minute entries were just made available over from The Intercept, and we're going to go through them going all the way back to 2020, where we can see conversations between government bureaucrats and big tech like Facebook. We're also going to check in with Representative Jim Jordan, who's responding to this, saying that the Biden administration and the government intelligence agencies are weaponizing these agencies against Americans. But I want to start with some hysteria from CNN. As the elections near, CNN is warning us once again that if you exercise free speech, if you question one of the things that happens in America, which is elections, one of the key tools of American democracy, of course, is elections. We're not at the end of history. We still can ask ourselves whether one of our tools is sharp enough as we're using them in elections. But are our elections 100% secure and appropriate? Well, the Department of Homeland Security seems to think so, and they're warning that anybody who questions otherwise might be contributing to political violence across America. Here is the meltdown from CNN.
What are you hearing?
Well, John, this is a joint intelligence bulletin being put out by Department of Homeland Security, FBI, National Counterterrorism Center, and U.S. Capitol Police. And they're saying that these domestic violent extremists do pose a risk in the period before, leading up to, and after the midterm elections. So crucially, that's a period we're in right now. And these threats of violence will extend, this bulletin says, even beyond Election Day on November 8th. So what this bulletin is saying, that these threats of violence could incorporate elected officials, election workers, even candidates. And they're saying what's spurring all of these threats are the perceptions still that the 2020 election was rigged or stolen, and then enduring perceptions of those false election fraud claims, as well as what they say are new or emerging perceptions of fraud undermining the integrity of these elections coming up here.
So it's not just the prior elections, it's also these upcoming elections. And so you can't talk about those. And you also can't talk about the upcoming elections either, because it's just, I guess it's too dangerous to question these things. It might lead to violence. And you can see the chyron there at the bottom. DHS Bulletin, domestic violent extremists pose heightened threat to the midterm elections. Isn't that interesting? And we've been covering this all year. We're getting close to the election. And so they have to really hit that climax, hit that high note, that crescendo as we get near the election. They talked about this earlier in the year, DHS forming these entities along with the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI to really focus on domestic homegrown violent extremism. Okay, got it. They're all panicked about it, and it all emanates from questioning elections. If you do that, that's a problem. Now, we're not doing that here at all. We're just asking ourselves if it's okay to talk about elections. We're not asking whether an election outcome was true or not, but can we talk about this stuff? Can we talk about the difference between voter integrity and voter enfranchisement, okay, which are two different concepts? We want as many people to vote as we possibly can, right? This is America, but we got to have some integrity around that enfranchisement, meaning it's citizens and it's people who have an interest in the American tradition, right? It's meaning we have some enfranchisement with some integrity, but they fight over this stuff. They say that if you ask for integrity, that's voter suppression. And we have to constantly ask ourselves, what are the appropriate policies? We're allowed to do that, right? We're allowed to talk about this stuff in America. We do have free speech in this country. Doesn't the First Amendment exist for a reason? I thought it did. This report comes out from CISA, the Cybersecurity Advisory Committee, and they give us some bullet points here. They tell us in this cover sheet that the core of this big, disgusting bureaucracy's mission is to safeguard America's critical infrastructure. They say the nation has seen the corrosive effects of what they call MDM. This is mis, dis, and malinformation, which we have a lot of these different categories now. And it's very complicated to keep track of them. So before we look at the meat and potatoes, let's see what else this educates us about. They say this has hit us across a host of different areas, and this is going to go into the next election cycle. They give us an update on where they are. They say CISA has a burgeoning, see that word there? MDM effort, which is the mis, dis, mal information effort, that focuses on building national resilience through public awareness. We engage with subject matter experts. We develop strategies to message the public and to amplify trusted voices. So whose voices do you think they're amplifying? Do you think they're amplifying yours? No. Do you think they're amplifying mine? No. Or anybody who questions their narrative? Absolutely not. They are bubbling up, and YouTube has said this specifically, the authoritative sources. CNN? Oh yeah, trusted voice. Oh yeah, totally. Fox News? Not so much. These actions include directly engaging with social media companies to flag this, okay? CISA directly engaging with social media companies and creating a repository of factual guides and toolkits. So the disgusting government puts their thumb on the necks of these social media companies to tell them what to do. They say that CISA is bringing on staff to address this and to develop long-term strategies. They want to improve the ability to do analytics on narrative intervention. You understand what that means? They want to see how effective they are. Oh, there's a narrative that's popping up. How can we literally shut that up? And we want analytics on that so we can assess how well we're doing. They also say we're also working with our federal partners to mature as a whole of government approach to mitigating the risks and identifying tools that we want to use. Ahead of the midterm elections in 2022, they say, it's going to be critical to evaluate our role. One approach is to recognize our responsibility for securing the election infrastructure and to become a trusted resource so that we can minimize misunderstandings so that the public trusts us a little bit more. Right now, this is the cover sheet. We're going to scroll all the way to the bottom and start historically back with an early email from 2020. This email comes from CISA, the Department of Homeland Security.gov, from a guy named Brian Scully. You see, it was sent Tuesday, April 21st, 2020 at 2:40 p.m. And he says, this bureaucrat, Brian, from the Department of Homeland Security, he writes, Dear Redacted, I hope this finds you and your family well. The Center for Internet Security, my government bureaucracy, which manages ISAC, the election infrastructure, is developing a portal to facilitate reporting from state and local election officials. Government bureaucrat sends this email. The idea is to establish a centralized portal for reporting disinformation. You might ask yourself, wait a minute, Rob, you skipped over something. Who is this email going to? Reporting disinformation. Okay, so who should be responsible for this? Like this should go over to what? Like another bureaucracy? Like another FBI agent? Or another U.S. Attorney's Office or something, right? These are government agencies communicating. The idea is to establish a centralized portal for reporting disinformation so that election officials only have one place to go. Okay. And NAS, and they support the use of the portal, and they've asked CISA to establish a meeting with you all. Who are we talking about? You all. Who is that? Oh, here it is. Would you and anyone at Facebook you think is appropriate have time for a call over the next week or two? It's Facebook. They're sending emails to @fb.com, @fb.com. This is Brian Scully, chief bureaucrat for countering foreign influence, sending emails to Facebook telling them we have a centralized reporting portal for you and we want you to use it. Okay. And we want to integrate it with all of your services so that we can just tell you what is misinformation and ban it off of your platforms, which is censoring and eliminating Americans' free speech directly without any due process. It's the government acting to remove people's speech from other platforms. Back in 2020, April 21st. Now, as we fast forward, we can see that there was, in fact, a meeting that apparently took place. Here's what the agenda looked like. 10 minutes, dial in and opening. Takes a long time to get a bunch of bureaucrats on the phone. 30 minutes, they've got threat updates. And look who they have integrated at these meetings. A threat update from the US government, including the FBI. We have a threat update from Twitter, Facebook, and Google. So all of them are communicating back and forth with one another. This comes from Facebook to the Department of Homeland Security and back over to our friend Brian Scully. A draft agenda for the U.S. government industry meeting so that they can work together to censor free speech in America. 40 minutes on deep dive topics where they can talk about election processes like voting by mail, polling places, and they can coordinate about the threat landscape in advance of the conventions and the debates. All the big tech platforms colluding with the U.S. federal government. It's right here. They have an agenda. August 2020. Here's the meeting. Highlights, upcoming watchouts, all moderated. Got it. Hey, Brian and Matt over from Facebook. Here's what we've suggested. Let's hit it. Now, this continues on. Facebook sends another letter. They say, hey, guys, over at the Department of Homeland Security, this is from Facebook, don't know who it is, over to DHS. This was sent August 11, 2020, elections coming up. He says, hey, gents, they're so hip over there, these tech bros. He says, hey, gents at DHS, hope you're doing well. We saw your email about the Clemson researchers. We're taking a look. We're going to come back on that. Appreciate you sharing your advocacy there. In the meantime, we wanted to share awareness for tomorrow at the meeting. And we just wanted to let you know that the industry side will be releasing a statement tomorrow. Would it be possible for the Department of National Intelligence attendees on the call to share more details? All right, so they're coordinating on joint statements with the government. Do you understand? Facebook is sending the disgusting federal government a draft of this. Do you guys approve this before we publish this out to everybody? Can we get your rubber stamp on this? Why didn't the government just write it? We see this, the government responds. Matt responds. He says, thanks, whatever your name is. We're going to share this with our government partners. Is this being offered in part because of the Wall Street Journal reaching out to you? I spoke off the record with the reporter and I reinforced the good work that we're all doing, trying to cover this up. So Facebook gets panicked about this. They go, we are working pretty closely with the U.S. government. And here's what we say. Joint industry statement, right? Coming from all of the big tech platforms. They're all trying to cover up themselves. They say, here's some background. Among today's industry government meeting were the following: Google, Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, Microsoft, Verizon, Pinterest, LinkedIn. CISA was there. FBI was there. DOJ was there. ODNI was there, right? The entire intelligence community was there. They say since 2018, we've been working with you guys to try to solve all this stuff. For the past years, we want to counter information operations across our platform, and we've been tasked with working with the government to stay vigilant on these issues. All right. So this is a panic press release. This is a PR firm got together and said, holy crap. All right. So you're coordinating with the U.S. government to censor Americans' free speech. We better get some cover on this. So go get everybody else. Go get all the other friends who are also violating our liberties and make sure they're on board as well. Get LinkedIn, get Pinterest, get Verizon, get Facebook, get Google, get Reddit, get Twitter, get everybody. They're all there. And they put this out and they say, hey, do you mind taking a look at this to give us the approval on this? We're feeling a little bit uncomfortable about it. And they send it over. Can you rubber stamp this? And the government responds. He says, why are you even having to publish this? Like, why are you telling them what we're doing? We've been collaborating and you have to protect the integrity of the election. Like, you're giving them a lot of information. Why are you responding to this? So the bureaucrat, Matt, he sends, okay, yeah, we'll share it. But is this being offered because the Wall Street Journal, some reporter contacted you? I spoke off the record with them and I said, we're doing good work. So don't worry about it. I'm the government. They're going to bury the story. In other words, this is like, a secret message. Don't worry about them publishing this because I talked to them. I'm from CISA. And he responds, he says, Matt, yeah, thanks for your quick reply and for forwarding this to your partners. On your other question, our desire to make a statement has been in the works, quote, for a while. Like, we've been thinking about doing this. We're not panicked or anything. It just took us some time to coalesce and pull it together. Bottom line, we have wanted to highlight all the good work we've done together. It's unrelated to the story. So we're not panicked. Don't worry about it. Sent back on August. Thanks, he says. I know that the Wall Street Journal reached out for comment, but not sure, right? Just a real short message there on August 11th. Okay, just making sure you're not getting squirrely over there. But then we see another one comes from Facebook. Okay, Facebook.com. Somebody at Facebook.com sends a message. Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. Facebook sends a message over to CISA, Department of Homeland Security, Brian Scully, and Matthew Masterson over at Department of Homeland Security. Private entity, Facebook, public company contacting the U.S. government. He says, hey, Brian and Matt, can you please confirm the below is election misinformation? Can you confirm that for us? And he sends a link to a tweet. Thank you. Facebook is checking with their FBI handlers and their CISA handlers, their Homeland Security handlers, on misinformation. We get another email. Now, we lose that. This is where the thread stops. 11/3 is our last email. We fast forward now. We're in the year 2022. The month is February. The date is the 17th. It's 9:41 a.m. earlier this year. We see that an email came out from this woman. Her name is Lauren Protentis. And if you're confused about her gender, well, she's identified them for us with her pronouns. Lauren Portentis would like to be identified as she, her, and we will oblige. Now, she has a title. She's on the MDM team, which is the Mis, Dis, and Malinformation team. She's an election security initiative individual over at the National Risk Management Center. Look at all those words right there. Holy moly. Pronouns, Mis, Dis, Mal, MDM team, election security initiative, National Risk Man. Holy moly. This probably means that she doesn't do anything useful at all because she has all those words, if you can sort of understand where I'm going with that. But let's see what she had to say. So Lauren sends a message now over on February 17, 2022 over to Google. And Allison, she, her, sends this to, copied to Allison. I'm sorry, Lauren sends it to Allison, also a she, her, along with Jeffrey Hale, which is a he, him, which is good. So just don't get confused. And another person who didn't put his or her pronouns or their or its pronouns in the email address, which is a little bit concerning. So we don't know what to do with that one. But Lauren sends a letter to Google, DHS to Google. Says, hi, Google. I hope this email finds you well. The Department of Treasury, DOT, Treasury, has asked our team to appropriate POCs to discuss social media and influence matters. We'd like to make the connection to Google if you're amenable. If there's another POC this should be routed to, please let us know. Thanks in advance. All my best, Lauren Protentis, she, her. If there's another point of contact, right, we'd like to know. We'd like to connect with you so that we can censor as much as possible. Are you the right person to talk to here? Copying the rest of DHS. Now we get a response. Google responds. They send a letter, an email back at 2:43. It says, hi, Lauren, over from DHS. I didn't appreciate there was an urgency. Sorry for the lag. Oh my goodness. Let's go back on this. Wow. Okay. So this is interesting. Now we didn't see this coming. This email from Lauren is on February 17th at 9:41. Lauren, DHS, sends a letter over to Google. Hey, Google, can you help us with this? She sends a second letter at 10:56, an hour and like 15 minutes later. Says, apologies for the second email, Google. I sent you one an hour ago, but I got to send you another one. This is somewhat time sensitive. So thank you for your prompt attention to this request. Let me know if you have any questions. Can somebody tell me what's so time sensitive about mis, dis, and malinformation? Somebody tweet something illegal that Lauren is freaking out about. She's sitting there on her Gmail just refreshing, over and over and over again. Where's Google? Where's Google? So Google responds like at 2:43 p.m. and she says, hi, Lauren, weirdo. It hasn't even been 24 hours yet. I have a 24-hour email rule. I didn't appreciate that there was an urgency. Sorry for the lag. I'm actually working. Please pass along my contact information. Depending on what the topic is, I may need to pull in others. Thank you. Okay, so whoever this individual is, we don't know, but she works at Google and they get her on the line. She says, okay, I guess if it's urgent. Yeah. And then Lauren, she, her, responds and she says, yeah, sure. I should have mentioned that in my initial note, obviously. Urgent, put something urgent in the subject title. Hello. But she continues. She sends another letter. She says the following to Google, evidently. Actually, this is to Facebook. So we can see this email thread looks. This is a Facebook email thread. Here, it says, hi, Facebook. Thank you for your prompt response to our request. If the Department of Treasury hasn't contacted you yet, they will. They say, relatedly, as the Russia-Ukraine geopolitical tensions escalate, CISA, Cybersecurity Agency, is looking to convene our partners to manage risk. We wanted to gauge interest in whether you want to convene with us, whether you and Meta would like to serve as a facilitator with your industry partners, or if you would prefer that we engage everyone directly. Russia, Ukraine. They have to combat that misinformation in America? And they got to get Facebook on the horn, like immediately? This is February 18th now. The intent of the forum would be to share the current threat landscape and information across the two groups, along with our interagency partners, similar to what we do in the election security space. So if you question the election, illegal insurrection. If you question the upcoming election, illegal insurrection. You can't even talk about it. But now it also carries over to Russia, Ukraine. So CISA is going to get involved in this. Lauren, she, her, says, if of interest and value, we'd work with you to set up an agenda setting call early next week. Feel free to offer times that work for us. We'd like to set up a larger call with your entire office. Let us know if you have any questions. We'd like to collude with you. Many thanks, Lauren. First, we haven't heard from Treasury yet, but we look forward to talking with them. Facebook responds. They say, additionally, we are happy to participate in a forum next week, if helpful, and flag for our industry partners that this is going on. With regard to the forum, they say, we think it's best for CISA, you, to invite other companies to participate. Facebook says, we don't want to go this alone. Okay, we'd rather have safety in numbers. We're too cowardly to tell you to shove off by ourselves, but we will show up if you invite all of our other partners. It's like that. It's, when you see those videos of the crowds raiding, mobbing the stores, they're willing to do that to our rights as long as other people are doing it too. Lastly, we look forward to hearing more from you next week. Let us know if there's anything else you need. Lauren, she, her responds, great. Thanks for the offer to give them notice. Now we get the phone numbers for the meeting. They actually set up the meeting. So all of the Facebook executives are there. And Lauren sends a message to Facebook. She says, hi, for our last call, we somehow ended up with different Zoom links. Can you make sure that you're going to be dialing in from this message? Well, I think it's because they have a Zoom problem, Says, also, I may come back to you separately on sharing our security measures. We have a whole team that works with election officials, and I think you should sync with them. Facebook saying, we're going to even take this to a level you've never even thought. We're going to connect you with the whole election team. And Lauren is sitting there, she, her, by the way, is getting this message from Facebook. And she's going, oh my goodness, they're going to connect us with the whole Facebook election team? Blah, you can't even take it. And they can't figure out the Zoom meeting. We're getting, Lauren, typical. We're getting an invalid meeting link message. Are you getting the same? Can you send along an updated link? Idiots. They can't figure it out. Finally, here's another link. All right, use this one. Here, use this one instead. It's right here. We're also going to need to dial in. Oh, gosh. Lauren, get it together. It's a Zoom meeting. You people locked us down in our homes. You can't even figure out Zoom? Crying out loud. Now, you can see that there were evidently some meeting attendees here. Look who's all there. Oh, yeah. University of Washington's there. Twitter's there. CISA's there. Illinois is there. We have the FBI along with JP Morgan Chase is there. Great. Yeah, the bankers need to be there, along with all of the bureaucrats from CISA, Laura Demlow and Allison Snell. Lovely. Now, they give us minute entries from the meeting, and there's some interesting things that we can sort of glean through. These are largely the same in most of these, but I just want to highlight a couple of the details. March 1, this year, 2022, we get a meeting. And there's minute entries. They tell us that Ms. Demlow opened up the meetings for question, and they're talking about a whole of government approach that can be leveraged, saying that there are inadequate laws to pursue misinformation. And there needs to be something done about this. And you can just see these minute entries just continue. There's another meeting that takes place. This one occurred in April. Purpose of the meeting: to review draft recommendations and begin identifying ways that we can deal with this misinformation. These people are just meeting around. Mr. Hale said, would it be appropriate for CISA to sponsor and fund studies about the effectiveness of our mitigations? Some members agreed to some recommendations. They're trying to detail what CISA can do. They thank the subcommittee for their participation and they carry on. We've got another meeting takes place in May. We have some action items. Let's see here. They're going to refine a list of recommendations for the meetings. These are kind of dry. Let's see if there's any good action items that we can glean. Okay, so as the year progresses, we have another meeting, and this one says they're going to refine the list of recommendations. They're going to contact civil liberty advocates and see what their opinions are, and they're going to make recommendations with the director Easterly. All right, and so let's fast forward through all of these and see if we can get a summary. Wednesday, we have emails back and forth now between the University of Washington.edu. They're sending emails to DHS saying, we're discussing these things, and they're making adjustments to their final recommendations. And let's go check out the latest, most recent meeting before we wrap up this segment and just see what we've got here. We've got some action items coming in from that's the April meeting. Yeah. So you can see they're going to be making recommendations. A lot of this stuff is redacted, names redacted. Reviewed the conversation, and they're going to be reaching out to people. Pretty disgusting behavior that they are just out there drafting recommendations to silence our speech everywhere you turn, but not a surprise. CISA is trying to fight malinformation, which according to their definition is basically anything that doesn't fit the standard narrative. But fortunately, the Republicans may be in charge soon. Representative Jim Jordan says that what CISA is doing by promoting efforts to fight and combat dis, and malinformation is really just the weaponization of federal agencies against America, against Republicans, trying to quash any oppositional narrative, any countervailing opinions that exist.
We went from a secure border to no border. We went from safe streets to record crime. We went from $2 gas to $5 gas. And we went from stable prices to record inflation. And then in addition to doing that to families in our communities and to our country, the Democrats have assaulted our liberties, too, and they've weaponized government to come after you, your First Amendment rights, your Second Amendment rights, and their political opposition. So that's what this election's about. And you can feel the momentum moving in our direction. I mean, I was in 4 states last week, been all over our district, all over the state of Ohio. You can feel it changing because people get it. They know the Democrats are responsible for this mess, and they're going to vote for Republicans. And I think it could be a big night for us on November 8th.
It probably will be. And if the Democrats and the Biden administration in particular continue to try to squeeze, I think what's going to happen is more and more people are going to slip through their fingers as they realize that the government is not looking out for their best interests. And if they can't speak, then really what autonomy do they have to participate in America at all? And as the federal government continues to squeeze, we'll see if more and more people wake up. I certainly hope they do. And we, of course, will continue to cover this. But CISA and the big tech collusion, one of the most, disgusting stories. We'll see if the Republicans do anything about it when they get back in charge, but we'll see.